Hey guys, I hope everyone's having an amazing week. I know the podcast is having an amazing week. Not only do we have a great topic this week, we also, guys, we have our first guest. We have our first guest on as a rebranded podcast. And I really like this guest. So make sure you guys are nice to him. Don't be too hard on him because we might want to have him back. I think you guys will like him. So we have a guest on today. And I've decided that the podcast needed a home of her own. She outgrew my little social media presence. So we have gotten the podcast her own social media. So of course, Ask Mish was taken because what Instagram handle isn't taken these days, but Ask_Mish was not. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing me a favor, go on Instagram later today or if you're not doing anything right now, just go on right now. Just do now, really quick. Click on the show notes, go in right now, and it's going to be at ask, as you might expect it to be spelled, ASK_Mish, MISH. And that's going to be our home from now on. We're going to be asking questions, doing polls, doing the stories. We're going to have some fun banter on there. So make sure that you're following us because I wouldn't want to miss out. And I like having good people around me. So I need you guys on there too. All right. So let's get into the question, and then I'm going to get into a little bit of backstory. Here's the question that I got for you guys for this week. Dear Mish, I was out to dinner recently, and the topic of faking orgasms came up with my girlfriends. The group was super divided on the topic. Some of the girls were saying that they never ever would do it, but some, including myself, said that they do from time to time. And to be honest, I didn't see anything wrong with it until I saw the reaction of my friends. They actually said I was rewarding bad behavior. Do you think it's bad to fake orgasms from time to time? So I was going to answer this question a while ago, but I was talking to my boyfriend about it, and I was like, all right, this question came up. I think it's such a great question. And I was telling him what I was going to say. And then he's like, I disagree with you. I was like, because personally, I have faked one from time to time, not with him, but just in general. And I didn't really think there was much wrong with it. So then we started talking about it. And then I was like, wait, if you're going to have opinions like this, you have to come on the podcast. We need the male perspective here. So he came on, we had a really nice discussion about it. And I think it's some pretty good thoughts, but I want to hear what you guys think. So let's take a listen to this podcast. And I want you guys to meet me over on Instagram at ask_Mish. And I want to hear your thoughts. So let me know what you guys think. All right, let's dive into this week's episode.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
So, all right, we were just setting up the studio.
Yes.
You were impressed with the studio setup.
I like the studio setup, particularly the lights, which I know you can't see on the other side of the camera, but at some point you have to share what you have going on here.
It's just my makeup mirror.
AKA your studio setup.
It's the studio.
It's very nice.
Yes. One of our friends owns a podcast studio, but I think this is fancier.
I think this rivals your friend's podcast studio, our friend's podcast studio.
Wait, so before we get started, can we just talk about the thing that I just learned? So we were looking through my questions to find the question about orgasms, and someone wrote on there does the curtain match the drapes? And I was like, oh, that's so stupid. And you were like,
I have never heard that phrase before.
How is that even possible?
I don't know how that's possible, but now I know.
That's a common phrase. So that blew my mind. So we had to share that with you guys, that Nick just learned what the carpet matching the drapes means.
I did.
Okay. I would like to introduce you guys to Nick. So Nick is here. Say hello.
Hello to everyone.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is a long time coming.
It has been. We've been talking about it.
Coming. See, I made a coming joke already. That was the first 30 seconds I made a coming joke.
Pun intended.
This is going to be good.
Good job.
I'm excited, guys. All right. So I forget how this came out. So I was going through the questions that people asked me, and someone had mentioned, which I'll read the question earlier when I do the first piece for this episode, but they were saying, is it okay to fake orgasms once in a while? And I remember just kind of throwing that out to you as a comment or whatever, and you had some big feelings about it.
I did. I don't think it's okay.
Yeah. So we had a whole talk about it, and then I was like, stop talking. I was like, we have to save this.
This is a podcast episode. That's exactly what happened. Yes.
So
here we are.
Okay. So just so you guys know, I have vetted Nick. So Nick, as far as the orgasms go, I couldn't just bring somebody on that I've never vetted. So I vetted him. So you guys can know this is a legitimate, reputable source here. He's my reputable source. So
should we save the vetting process for a discussion in a separate podcast? Maybe
yes, different podcast episode. But understood. Yes, yeah, we have to work them up. This is podcast foreplay.
Got it.
Okay. So
which is a very important part of the process.
Actually. We're going to talk about that.
We're talking about orgasms.
We're going to talk about that.
Yes.
So tell me what your thoughts as a male is on the whole faking orgasms thing. And then I'm going to tell you what my perspective is, what I think a lot of females is, and
Mm-hmm.
then I actually pulled the room. I pulled my Instagram, so we're gonna look
Ooh,
at
I
all
want
the
to hear what the
stats.
data says.
All right, but tell me your thoughts on that.
So my reaction was very strong, and I do believe the answer to that, should an orgasm be faked? The answer to that should be no. But I got to put an asterisk on there. I understand that there's likely some situations where it makes sense, but before we get to that, let me ask you, why is it do women feel like they need to fake an orgasm?
So there's a bunch of reasons, which I have in my notes. I'm going to look at my notes in a second. I think the
Mm-hmm.
main reason for me and I'm not saying I've done it often, but for me, like, I think a lot of guys don't understand exactly how the female orgasm works. And like, I feel like, and I could be wrong, but for guys, to me, it's very mechanical, right? So if you touch the right
Mm-hmm.
things and do the right things for long enough, like it'll happen. For women, I think it's a lot of times in our men's. I know for myself, like occasionally, sometimes with more people than others, like I just know it's not going to happen. So it's sort of like, do you ever like have to sneeze?
Mm-hmm.
And you like feel like I have to sneeze, I have to sneeze, I have to sneeze, don't lose the sneeze, don't lose the sneeze, and then you lose the sneeze.
Yes.
So sometimes
We all hate when that happens.
it
Yes.
sucks.
That's a great analogy.
Sometimes you lose the sneeze.
Yes.
And then it's like, I don't know if the guy understands like how my sneeze works. And I don't want him to feel like it's his. So I'm just gonna pretend to sneeze because I know I'm not gonna get the sneeze
But
back.
why do you feel like you have to fake the sneeze? Why is it not okay to just not sneeze?
So it never occurred to me to not sneeze before.
Mm.
It never occurred to me not to sneeze before. So that was my
Okay.
experience with the conversation.
Mhm.
I just feel like, and I don't know if it's, I don't know. I just always felt I had to sneeze.
That's an interesting question that I'd love to hear what your audience thinks about that. Maybe
Right.
that's a follow-up
We're
data
gonna
point
we're gonna go on the
to collect.
stories. We're gonna go on the stories. We're gonna ask you guys about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get to the origin of the actual question. But I do remember having a strong reaction to it, right? Because I do think the answer to that should be no. And as someone who enjoys feedback, I feel like it's a really bad way to give feedback, right? You're faking an outcome. You're faking a what should be positive outcome, and it's pretend, right? So you're creating a pattern where guys don't know what you do really like and what you don't. But
Wait, so that's interesting because you said that you like having feedback.
yes.
I don't know if and again, this is just me like talking out loud with all of this stuff. And like, luckily, I'm happy to report, like, I haven't had to have this experience with you, but like with, prior people in my very small past, very small past.
This isn't a body count episode.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's okay.
it'll be another episode. It's fine. Sorry, mom. It has, but I've never thought about it as if like giving the guy feedback. I've always thought about it sort of like in those situations where I have, it was just sort of like, I know I'm not going to, and I don't want to I don't want to like make them think that I didn't enjoy it because yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so a few things. One, I believe the objective is to not fake orgasms. I'm not saying, and I don't want to make any women feel super uncomfortable about the fact that there may be some situations where it's necessary because they feel like it gets them out of an uncomfortable situation, or it just
Yeah, that's
right. So like,
interesting.
let's put an asterisk
Yeah.
on that because I
That's a good
understand that, and I don't want to remove that space. Right. So it is the way to pull and eject
Yeah,
on an experience maybe that you just want to come to an end. So not
come to an end.
there you go. Good job. So let's leave that where that is.
Sure.
But as an objective, we should not be okay with faking orgasms. Now, I think probably the who is going to matter here. So if it's someone that you're likely not going to have sex with again, again, it's probably insignificant. It's not going to matter, right? You're not going to see the person again. But for anyone that has longevity and significance, a partner that you're going to have sex with often, it's not, we don't want that as an objective, right? So I think, so my first reaction to that was like, no, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right. And I kind of stand by that, but I also I think guys need to take responsibility for the pressure that we may add to that situation. so that we do work through it together. And I think that that's an important part of this.
So prior to me,
Mm-hmm.
let's pretend you had sex with other people, which whatever.
I'll play along with this fantasy.
Let's pretend that happened. So if you were with a girl, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
like, would you be offended, or would you think there was something wrong with you if you didn't, like, if she like didn't like come?
So I think it's important to separate. Yes, I I think getting to the objective of not faking orgasms is different than placing the objective of every sexual experience as having to come.
Ooh, tell me more.
So I mean, you can explain the experience of a female orgasm better than I can, I'm sure.
I don't know.
But
You can try. Can you try? I'd love. Wait, can I hear your interpretation of a female orgasm?
so it's not as mechanical,
Yes.
right?
That's
And
true, actually.
but that's the point though, and I think that's where the beauty in this is that for a man it is a very mechanical process that can become mechanical and mundane if you would allow it to.
So are you saying like you like guys can get bored during sex just because it is
But we still come, but it does.
interesting?
Yes.
Wait, that's so interesting. So like you could just if you just like it's like how many likes get to the center Tootsie Roll, like you will get to the center.
Yes.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay, so that's so the way I experience a female orgasm, and I don't want to speak for all females because I don't know, but for me, it's sort of like it's very mental. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like there are some times that I just know mentally, like I'm not like it's not like I'm not like having the time, but there's just sometimes in the past where I've just known I'm not going to be able to.
But I do think it's important to reduce that, because anytime anyone feels pressure to do something in a sexual experience, it takes the enjoyment out for both parties, right? If you feel overburdened to have an orgasm, or the guy feels overburdened to produce your orgasm, is anybody having fun?
Yeah, wait, so did you ever experience an overburden to produce an orgasm for something? Like, are you like, all right, no, I'm not a quitter. I don't give up.
At some point in my life, I guess I made the decision that sexual experiences are more enjoyable if you're focused on the journey. And I think most of life is that way, right? Like focusing on the journey,
Not the destination.
not the destination or not the objective, produces a more enjoyable experience. And I would say that almost about everything that I do.
Yeah, no, that's a great.
But I think
shift.
that's really applicable in this situation. And I think it reduces the stress burden for everybody that's involved, and is then more likely to produce an orgasm. But even still, like, let's put down the orgasm for a second. Actually, no, strike that. Let's talk about, like, before we get into like the fun aspect of the conversation.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about what it is. And when we are faking orgasms, when women are faking orgasms.
Have you ever faked an orgasm?
I don't know that I can say no to that. I haven't with you. I can tell you that.
Oh, good. So glad. Interesting.
That is, right?
That is. Wait, I that's a new thing unlocked. I didn't know guys did. Okay, so why did you?
I don't really recall the answer to that, but I do recall doing it.
Wait, that's so interesting.
It's only a very small handful of times.
Okay. You don't remember why?
I don't remember.
Were you just
why.
like, was it the same reason that I might have, where you're like, I'm
I
just
think
over
so.
it?
Yeah, because there are times when I think even guys can become overstimulated and it becomes almost like an impossible situation.
Right. And I guess for guys, it's like you assume.
But again, that's.
Ooh, this is a new thing unlocked. I didn't know that was not my notes.
But I think it's the same thing. I think it's because we're so focused on getting to the ends as opposed to the journey that all of a sudden it's like you have to do something and then it kind of becomes impossible. But
wait, so I know what you're going with it, but before we go there, that's really good advice. I happen to know you, and yes. I know that you are at this point refined, but I know in your former life you were sort of like a little bit of a fuckboy.
Those are rumors.
Those are rumors.
Allegedly,
ideas, yes. You were like that sort of guy. So like is this wisdom like your refined self? Like if I have a girl listening to this and she's in like
Yeah.
a situationship and she's with like a
Hmm.
fuckboy or whatever, like does that apply to this person? Like can guys hear that? And like if like what's a good way to get them to hear that?
I think if you want to have a better experience, even for guys, stop focusing on the outcome and
Mm.
start focusing on the dance with your partner. That's just a better experience. But let's come back to that for a second.
Okay.
When we Let's just dive into the science. I'll nerd out just a little bit here
All
for a
right.
second, right?
Former
Give
biology
me a
major,
little
please
space.
enjoy.
Yeah. When you fake an orgasm with someone, with a partner, with someone that has significance in your life, you're denying yourselves the bond that comes with that,
Tell me more.
right? So I couldn't pretend to list all of the hormones that you may be able to list. There
Oxytocin.
you go, and the host of others. Um, but look, that post orgasm closeness is very real, right? Like the hormones that are released through the experience of an orgasm brings people together,
Do
and I,
guys
I
experience
think
that as well?
I do
Did you when you were a fuckboy?
to an extent. Yeah,
Okay, just curious.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that particularly if in a relationship where you're constantly faking an orgasm, you're denying the relationship that closeness that forms. And I think that's like an important part
Hmm.
of relationships. And I would really challenge people to not deny your relationship, that experience, by working through whatever's blocking you from having that intimacy.
Interesting. I like that's a really good way to put it. It's just a matter of everyone being on the same page of that. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
Especially like, when you're a girl, like I think girls in general, a lot of girls are, if you're with somebody and like let's even say it's like relatively new, or even not, like I think a lot of girls feel self-conscious. A question I get all the time when I do the Ask Mish stuff is like, I feel self-conscious in the bedroom. So women a lot of times are like in their own heads. They're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, is he looking here? Is he looking there? Like you even said to me, like that was like a big thing like that you've seen with girls,
Mm-hmm.
like you're covering your stomach or like, is he looking at this or is he judging me? Like you have a really hard time like enjoying like what's actually happening because you're so caught up in like what's going on in your head that like, it it you lose sight of like what it's supposed to be about. Wait, from a
Mm-hmm.
guy's
Yes.
perspective, because I have a theory and I don't know if it's true. I have like because women tell me that all the time. They're like, that's a huge problem that I have. I feel so self-conscious in the bedroom. Do guys notice that? Because I don't
Yes,
think you do. No, no,
we
no,
do.
no, no. I know you notice it for self-conscious. Do you notice the insecurities that we have? Like we're covering our stomachs or whatever. Like, are you looking like are you honestly being
We
like,
do, in my opinion, and I can speak to myself and most guys that I've talked to about this. We don't judge what you're judging, but a it's a better experience if you're not self conscious. So what
if
I'm
we're not self-conscious, do you
Mhm.
care what we look
No,
like? Do you care if we have an extra roll in our
no,
stomachs? You guys don't even notice it probably, right?
no,
Yeah, like there's no blood flow up here. It's all down there. Like
no.
you're
But
not
we
even
will notice if you're uncomfortable with your body. We don't care about whatever it is that you're uncomfortable about, and by care I mean we're not judging you the way you're judging yourselves.
interesting.
Yes.
But then if you draw attention to it by like covering or being weird or like whatever, like then you notice it.
Well, correct, because whatever that insecurity is likely also blocking you from just being in the moment
Mm,
and being connected, right? Your mind is involved in how do I look as opposed to how does this experience feel with the other person, and you do start to feel that.
interesting. So like what
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you have for women who feel self-conscious in the bedroom?
Just take a deep breath and enjoy the experience.
Because you guys don't care. You don't even notice.
We don't.
Like I'm there. I'm like, oh my God, he's totally noticing that I have cellulite. He's totally noticing that still.
I have
But you're
no
not noticing,
idea, not at
right?
all.
You don't notice it.
Nope.
Interesting. See, that's good. Okay, so that hopefully that helps some people get out of their own heads. Because when for a girl, it's all up here. Like,
But hang on, so when you say get out of our own heads,
mhm.
I also think that that's part of how we like there's a long list of things I think we could talk about how to improve
But
the
let's well
experience.
that's
Should we go there?
that's why we're
We'll
here.
get out of the science and we'll get to the list.
Yeah, no one cares about the
Yeah.
science.
Well,
Or
science
did
matters.
we Bill Nye so we Bill Nye our way enough? There's
Yes.
chemistry, and because of chemistry and biology and all the other ologies, you shouldn't fake orgasms because you deny the bonding
I think so.
oxytocin.
Yes.
We're like fucking
All of those.
scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now let's get to the fun stuff. So tell me
Sure.
more.
So, right. So we say, or I was saying, or advocating for us to look at the journey as opposed to the objective, right? How do we focus on
Enjoying the process.
Enjoying the process or enjoying the sex as opposed to just getting to the outcome. So what does that actually look like? I think first and foremost, especially with either partners that are new or if you're looking to kind of reinvigorate the relationship you have, is just very, very simply starting with how does my partner experience touch?
So you're saying you would think this about your partner?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
you as the man or just you as a partner? Like, should I be thinking that about you?
absolutely.
Okay, so we should be
I
thinking.
think it goes both ways, right?
Yes.
And I think, but that focus on learning that person's body. If I touch you here, what do you do? If I touch you there, what do you do? If I do it more firmly, do it more softly, how does the person react? To me, that's where the beauty and the joy in the experience, it's more fun, right? It's just more fun to see how the person's experiencing certain things, you know. But again, it's not necessarily up to the ends of how do I make this person orgasm. I think it's more like how does this person's body react when I do this?
I have so many people I want to already send this episode. Yeah, no, but that's the problem. The problem is like I think so many guys are just like, all right, like first of all, I think a lot of guys think it's mechanical, as similar to how, although we learned today, guys fake orgasm sometimes. We just breaking news. So I think a lot of guys think it's more mechanical, and then I think like a lot of guys like don't understand the value in like foreplay because they are just trying to like get to the whatever, and we're just like, all right, and it kind of get very mechanical. So like really just like enjoying the process.
But look, I spend 99% of my day focusing on business, training, coaching, like production, right? That's the majority of my day. It's over masculinized, right?
True.
I run through my day focusing on all the things I need to get done. It's nice to put all of that down and just enjoy the experience of touching each other.
Happy to be here for you. Yeah, no, but that's a great way of looking at it. But I don't think a lot of guys do. I mean, I think a lot of guys have misconceptions about it. So like, so did you always like kind of know all of this, or like, because again, you had that like fuckboy vibe. So I feel like the guys who maybe need to hear this are your former self. So what would you tell your former self?
Focus on curating experience, not delivering events.
Ooh, can you like what does that look like in practice?
So I like the word curation, right? Because if you think about how like a curator builds a museum or an art exhibit, right? It's about creating a quality experience, not necessarily trying to like sell a ticket.
Ooh, and that's
Right?
like what I tell people in like sales too. Like sometimes like if I have a new employee and she's like, "Well, what if they don't sign up?" I'm like, "It doesn't. I don't care about that. Like, just focus on giving them a good like session, and then if you're providing value and they connect with you and they think you're going to help you, it doesn't like you will like you don't have to sell. Oh my god, that's such a good.
Right.
We're good at speaking business analogies. That's so good. Yeah. So it's like yeah. So when guys are not, refined, I guess, in the bedroom or whatever, just chasing an orgasm, is very similar. And it's got that same like ick factor of like a used car, like a hard sell where it's just like, I don't want to be sold to right now. Yeah. So then you're just like, okay, here, here's my money, just take it and like go away.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's so interesting.
And I think for the most part in going through that experience, most women will give signals as to what they like and what they want more of. I would challenge women to accentuate the volume or the communication of what they're enjoying or not, for the guy's sake. And I would challenge men to just...
Should we have like a bell? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Good job.
So
or like a buzzer.
That's one of the things that I think is actually fun to do. Right? But one of the bullet points on the list that I would challenge people to explore is power dynamics. And that can go both ways, right? I'm not saying that the man has to be masculine and domineering. I'm not saying that the woman has to be submissive. It can be either partner, but using the assertiveness of I only want you to tell me these things is a form of getting in the other partner's head a little bit to put down whatever else I'm thinking about.
It forces you to stay
while
in the
at the same time creating a space that's acceptable to give feedback to the partner.
I like that. Yeah. So it's not like you're only allowed to do this. It's like this is what I want, and it could be the guy or the girl, whoever wants to be like the dominating one in that arena.
Yep.
And it's just to kind of like gauge their reaction and just kind of see and like help them get out of their own heads a little bit to see.
Correct.
That might also be a good thing. I feel like another question I get a lot from people who have just been in relationships for a long time is like, all right, I'm bored. Like I'm so fucking bored in bed, and like it's like a chore. I feel like everyone's like been there, who's in like long-term relationships or whatever, but like that could be a way too, just to kind of like reintroduce like, all right, well, let's like take a refresher course on like what you like and what we're into, and that could be that's a very like benign way of doing it.
That's where people get stuck though, is they get in a place where they either feel bad giving a piece of feedback.
Yeah, honestly, I've felt that way in other situations before. Yeah, you feel bad.
Right. I think we do a good job of that, right? Like we're pretty communicative about what we do and do not want with
yeah,
each
no,
other,
you
and I
know,
think that's
yeah, we're really good. We
right.
I get if I give you a test, I bet you.
I know the code.
But also but again, like we haven't been dating for 5,000 years. You know what I mean? For a lot of people that have been, like, that's probably a really good way just to start to like reintroduce, your like to get to just refresh and just see what you guys are like feeling, what you guys like at this point.
Get back to basics, right?
Yeah.
I think in whatever you're doing, getting back to don't focus on the ends, focus on the journey, right? What does that mean? Okay. Focus on the experience of how does my partner enjoy touch in different ways, different parts of the body, different firmness, different temperatures, different sequences. And I think that's an important one too.
Wait, I just thought you're the Friends episode where she's like five.
Seven.
When you said sequences,
yeah.
that's all I could think of.
Of course, what did I just do? I went straight to the 7, didn't I?
What's the 7?
The 7 is.
How do you remember that episode so well that I don't remember what 7 was? Of course you remember. Wow, yeah, you are good. Yeah. Okay. So here's some stats. So I asked on my stories, I was like, have you ever faked an orgasm before? So 37% said never, which I was actually really happy about that. I thought that was going to be a little bit higher. Another 37% said I have before, but not very often. 15% said I would fake it more than I like to. And 12% said I could win an Academy Award for faking it, which I'm sad for them.
Yeah, we have to help them.
All right. Give advice to each category. Give advice to the Academy Award winners. Like, and let's make the assumption that they're in a relationship.
I would assume they are if they're faking it that often.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Okay. And at that point, I have to assume that they're in a long-term relationship, or the guy just doesn't know what they're doing. How do you tell a guy they don't know what the F they're doing? Nicely. So in a non-emasculating way.
So I think you also have to understand that some women orgasm way easier than others, right? That's an important.
So wait, that was my next question. Wait, hang on. I brought all the data to this conversation. So then, because then I was like, okay.
I like a challenge, by the way.
I know. So then I said, I was like, okay, for these women who've never orgasmed, I'm like, I need to know, or never faked an orgasm, I should say. Like, I need to know, like, why, or like how, what the deal was. So 9% said I just orgasm very easily. So a small percentage said I just orgasm very easily. 55% said I don't always, but I still don't fake it. So like, I don't always orgasm, but I just don't fake it. Like, it's just kind of like you were saying, like, it's okay to sometimes just be like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And then 36% says my partner just makes sure I do every time. Like, they're not quitters. To me, that would be like terrifying. Cause like there's just times where I just lost the sneeze and like, I know I'm not going to get it back. And then it's just like the idea of like spending another half an hour just to get the sneeze back just seems like aggressive.
But just make that part of the process, right? We all get overstimulated at times.
Yeah.
I think women can become more overstimulated than men more easily. But I think that's part of the experience. Like, you can cool down a sexual experience and not just continue to do the same thing.
True.
Over and over and over again. And so is not orgasming the same as cooling down for 20 minutes and coming back to it together?
Coming back to it,
yeah.
Guys, so many jokes. I wonder if a lot of guys like would have the confidence that you're expressing to like be able to do that. I think sometimes I'm just trying to think of like different people that I know. Like, I feel like some guys might not have the confidence. Some guys might take that like almost like emasculating, or almost like I think that's why a lot of women do it. Like, maybe do fake it because they're just with people that they don't know how to communicate that to them in a way where it doesn't feel emasculating. So like, how do you like open up that conversation?
I would just challenge myself. I would challenge all men to stop looking at sexual experiences as something that has to result in production, and understand that there's got to be a balance in this between experiencing the beauty of a woman's body, the connection, and yes, getting to the outcome of everybody having an orgasm, but enjoying the process.
Mm.
I don't know how to say it different than that, but
So yeah, I'm just trying to think like if I had a guy here that I just knew would take it the right way. Like how, okay, so that's so you said it in a theory. Like
Mhm.
if we're like role playing, not like in the fun way, but like in this kind of way.
Sure.
Like if I'm just like if you're a guy who's maybe a little insecure, maybe you're like a little like whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, no, it's not gonna happen. Like how do I say that in a way to you where you don't take it in a way that like to me it's just easier in that situation just to fake it.
So in that situation, it may be. And I think if you're in a point of discomfort, at that point, there's probably not a lot of ways out.
Yeah, and I guess this wouldn't be like in a
But
relationship, hopefully.
but even if it is, I get that. But that's probably not the point in time to all of a sudden strategize how not to get into that
That's a
situation, right?
good point. Yeah, okay, that's a good
Um,
point.
yeah, and I don't want anyone laying there thinking to themselves,
I shouldn't do it.
I
It's
shouldn't
like,
do it. I shouldn't
yeah,
do it. Like that's
right.
not the
There's a
goal,
time and a place,
right?
and then but maybe have that conversation like later.
Correct. But
What is
here's
the best icebreaker I could give someone who's maybe a little on the like defensive side? That like, hey, you're not like, how do I tell someone that? Like, you're not supposed to like fake orgasms because then it's like rewarding bad behavior. Actually, somebody on my story said that. Somebody on my stories
correct. Yeah.
commented like, I would not reward bad behavior. But let's just say I'm already in the pickle and it's already done. And I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, shit, do I just like start over with a new one? But I don't really want to. I've broken in this guy. How do I fix it?
So I think the question you have to ask yourself is why, right? And if the answer to that is because you're not receiving the experience that you want to receive, that's probably not the situation to give the feedback in,
Mm.
right? You're going to need to end that experience and create a way to re-enter that experience. But I think that's so. First, I would say if there isn't a space in your relationship to give feedback about sex or other things, there's probably some other conversations you need to have about your relationship.
That's
Um,
a really good point. Like, I think some people don't even consider that. It's just easier
right.
not to talk about it, but like that you should be able to talk about that stuff with your partner.
Correct. And so yes, I would challenge everybody to have that direct conversation, but I think also I would say to women, find a way to also to be more upfront about what it is you want and kind of create a chase out of it.
Tell me more, because I do like a chase, unfortunately.
Or create a way to be chased, I should say.
Tell me more.
So if you want something different,
Hmm.
ask for it, but maybe not in the moment. Maybe you're having a glass of wine and you're at dinner and you say, I want you to try this.
Hmm. Okay, so like just sort of create this, but not, but
Right.
so almost make it like a game. Like, can I get what I want at the end of the day? How do I get?
It's
Because women are good at we're good at getting what we
90% of
want.
it's in your mind for
Yeah,
women,
yeah,
right? We're the ones that are all physical,
true.
right? And I would say, so I'd say that both ways. If it's the woman trying to create the path for the guy to learn what she likes, then create a way to kind of draw that in
Hmm.
by like laying breadcrumbs
Hmm.
of what it is you want.
Hmm.
To the guys, I would say understand that the majority of it's in the woman's head and understand that the path to her having an orgasm starts long before the bedroom.
Tell me more.
So I think most guys probably think, and probably even like my prior self,
Mm.
would think about the experience of sex and getting to an orgasm starts at the point in time when you're both naked in the bed together.
Hmm. I think a lot of guys do think that.
But that's not, well, I guess what I've learned in the process is that's not as much fun
Hmm.
and not as successful of an experience for everybody that's involved. So how do you start before that, right? Is it sex messages? Is it just teasing each other in the middle of the day about what you want them to do to you or what you want to do to them when you get home?
Hmm.
And kind of creating that mindset and excitement, right? There's an excitement
Hmm.
that comes with that. Is it when you get home, not running to the bed, but as you walk by, you whisper in their ear what you want to do to them or what you've been thinking about all day,
Can I tell you
right?
something? I think a lot of women are like a
Tell me.
problem with that because I'm replaying this in my head and I'm thinking about it like in the context of what a lot of women in my office or whatever tell me,
Mm-hmm.
because I hear everything. I think so many women take on the masculine role like at home. So like they're in charge, like they
Mm.
work all day and then they come home and then they're like dinner and homework and lunches and they're taking on so much of that and they're like, and now I have to like sext him and like tell him what I want. Like I think the reason that like our sexual chemistry or whatever works out is because we do have very polarizing like masculine feminine
Mm-hmm.
energy. I think a lot of women are so in their masculine all day and then when they come home a lot of times they still have to be in their masculine because they have to like have the kids and they're thinking about everything. And to me, and then if I'm thinking about everything, if I'm like in that energy and then I have the guy say that to me, it's going to come off as more annoying than anything else.
Ooh, interesting.
Does that make sense? Like I think if I'm in my masculine all day long and then I
Mm-hmm.
come home and then like a lot of my clients will just like they have kids, like I don't know kids, right? But like they have kids. So like then they're doing all the kid stuff and then they're doing the homework and they're doing the lunches and they're doing the dinners. And like at that point, like I can't get in the if that were me, I wouldn't be able to get in the mindset of like a place where I'm even thinking about sex or orgasming or being turned on because like I'm just like still in that production thing. Like I can't chill at home. Like you said before, you're like I'm very productive all day. So when I come home,
Mm-hmm.
I just like to like relax and I like to like play or whatever. Like I don't know if a lot of women have the space in their home dynamic to do that. So then their guys
Mm.
are like, oh, I want to fuck or whatever. Like, oh, we haven't had sex in like 5 years, and they're like, okay, fine. But like, there's no enjoyment in it. It becomes a chore just because they're like in their heads all day, and then they come home and they're in their heads all day.
That's a problem.
No shit. It's not my problem, thank God. But I think it's a problem that a lot. I mean, like, does that make sense? Think about it like that. That's a
It
lot of women
does. It does. It
describe
does.
that dynamic. Like, think. I mean, if when you think about women, they're like, oh my God, I have to do it. Or it's been like 2 weeks and we haven't had sex. Like, it becomes like a chore. And like, I hope I know I'm not speaking for everybody here, but I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
speaking to a certain percentage because I've heard women say
Yep.
it to me.
That's not a sex problem.
What
That's
is
not an
that?
orgasm problem.
It's
That's,
leading to an orgasm problem.
I
But go
mean,
on.
it's create. Yes, yeah. The orgasm problem is clearly a symptom of the balance in the relationship for
Mm.
sure.
So that could be,
And
but that's
by that I don't mean the workload balance, but I mean more like the energy balance.
I think that's something that a lot of women like because if they're listening to this and they're like, oh my God, that sounds so great. I wish I had a partner. I want like I could do that. Like I don't know if a lot of I think the dynamic gets all messed up because I'm just thinking about the head thing for women. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, you guys can just come just because it's Tuesday. Like we have to like be in the right headspace for it. And I think that
Coming sounds more like a Monday thing. Tuesday?
but
Okay.
you're we're I
Sure.
mean and not or
That's right.
but like I think that's a big thing for women is like they might be listening to this and they might be like okay yeah cool that sounds amazing but I can't chill.
So that's a relationship issue, in my opinion, that's manifesting itself
Mm.
as a sexual problem, a sexual experience problem.
Yeah.
Right? I think everybody's relationship dynamic is different, but again, how I was saying before that there needs to be space in your relationship to communicate about your sexual desires, particularly around the role of like who's playing masculine and feminine in that, and that's part of the fun
Yeah.
of exploring the sexual aspect of your relationship. I would challenge people to do the same thing in the rest of their relationship. And
Yeah.
it sounds like that in that situation that you're describing, there's some imbalance of the energies that each partner is bringing to life. I mean, I get we're all like super busy and we all have more things to do on our lists. But if that balance of who's taking the masculine role and who's taking the more feminine role in the relationship is also out of balance, you're gonna feel it in the bedroom, right? Like
Yeah.
your relationship has to be sound in order to have that intimacy.
Yeah.
And if you're in bed thinking about how your relationship, even if you can't articulate it this way, but even if you're in bed trying to have this intimate moment with your partner, but you're thinking that about how your relationship is out of balance in other areas, well, you're probably not going to be able to experience having an orgasm, right?
Right.
And it probably feels like just another chore
Yeah.
on your list,
I think
which
a
is
lot of women
not
do
fun,
experience
right?
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think of like all the different categories. So I think there are women like that out there who like can't, they're like, well, I can't orgasm, but it's a chronic, it's like a chronic problem. So I think
Sure.
when you have that like chronic problem where you can't relax and sex becomes a chore, that's more of like a signal to like lean into like, okay, there's a relationship issue here and we have to kind of like get that resolved. And then maybe like a symptom that it's getting better is like you can chill in the bedroom.
Correct. Yeah. I would look at it from that perspective. I do.
Yeah.
Because I think if your relationship outside of the bedroom isn't healthy, it's going to be very difficult
Yes.
to have that. No.
And that's really a good way to look at it, like more of like a
Actually, I
symptom.
mean, you could probably get sucked into a very toxic relationship where like the sex is good, but the rest of the relationship isn't bad. That could probably,
that
probably be a
happens.
whole.
That happens a lot. That's the worst. That's the worst.
Right.
Because those are like the best people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of like the toxic, like the two extremes of that. So yeah, you could be with somebody who's like.
But you don't. I mean, there's doesn't have to be like that. I think.
Yeah. No.
Have to,
it doesn't. Like.
Right.
Yeah, like we're proof, guys. It doesn't have to be that way, but I think those are the two extremes, are like the toxic side. So like when it's like so good in the bedroom, but like the relationship is toxic, that's a symptom that needs to get, that's a sign that needs to get resolved. But then on the other side, when like you like can't get out of your own head, you can't enjoy anything, like that's more of a relationship symptom. So like I think sometimes women are faking it because they're on that extreme too. So I just wanted to address that because I think that's like a thing.
Yeah. So I would just again come back to the idea of how do you guys experience that journey together, right? And that can be a lot of different things. But it's not all just touch. I think as guys, we think we just go straight to touch.
Huge problem.
But I think for women, controlling their mind has a lot to do with it. Or not necessarily controlling their mind, but stimulating
is a better
mind,
word.
probably,
Stimulating their mind, yes.
Stimulating their mind to think about the experience differently.
Up with off top of
like you don't
your head.
You could be having sex in your bedroom, but your mind doesn't have to be in your bedroom.
Mm.
Right. You could be on an island. You could be in a back of a movie theater. You could be on a dinner table in a restaurant where everybody's watching you. Right. Like have fun with the scene. Right.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So use your mind in a positive way. Have we ever been having sex and you thought about somebody else?
Not somebody else.
Then what?
At least not that I wasn't openly talking about out loud with you.
Fair.
but create a story, right? Like so this like men watch porn, and we don't understand romance novels. To us, it's like just another book to read.
Really?
But why is there a
like
romance novel industry? I can't put the dollar number on it, but I'm gonna guess it's hundreds of millions of dollars in romance novels that are sold, right?
Yeah. One of my clients actually,
because it tells a story. Right?
One of my clients, this was my favorite trick. So I was telling her how to get into like a good exercise routine, I always watch a show to like go on the treadmill or like do cardio, and like that made me want to do it. So she has decided that she is going to, and she has been, and it's working great for her. She lets herself read smut books while she's like on her like exercise bike or whatever. And I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard to like create a habit. I love that. Oh, that's interesting. So words don't do it for you. Okay. So like my love language is words of affirmation. So like I could read something and I'm like so into it, but like for you, that does nothing. Like guys are like visual.
They are. I've learned to enjoy it though. I like to tell you a story. Like I like to transport us to
where? That's a different episode.
That's right.
Okay, so interesting.
Different content for a different platform.
Different content, different. Ooh, by the way, follow us on OnlyFans.
Just kidding.
Unless you guys want it. I mean, I'm here to please. Whatever.
We could put that on for a vote too.
Okay. Should we have an OnlyFans?
The idea of consent is a really interesting line to me, because obviously you, as a guy, especially in newer relationships, you want to make sure that you have consent for everything you're doing.
Yes, you do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But keep in mind that, right, like consent may also change, right? And I think it's important to also point out that you may say yes, but then you may feel different and say no, right? Correct. So that consent can change at all points in time. And I think as a guy, it's important to observe what your partner is comfortable with. But keep in mind that like exploring that is also part of the beauty, or part of the excitement of the journey is, what do you enjoy at different times, and how can we kind of explore that, and I'm not saying that to like cross lines, but like what you're into at different moments can change, and I think that's like fun to.
Yeah, but you have to be very good at reading people in order to do that correctly.
And that was kind of one of the first things I said. As guys, we need to be better listeners, right? For the most part, most women's bodies are telling you what they want. it's super subtle, but they're usually telling us what you want us to do.
So guys need to learn to read women's bodies more, and like it's not mechanical as it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But like every woman's different if they want to be stimulated externally on their clit or internally.
So that's really funny. You asked me that question when we first started dating,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You're like," I was like, "I don't know." I like didn't know. I didn't know the answer. I was like, "No one's ever asked me that before." You like actually scrambled my brain with that. I was like, "What did you ask me?" Like,
and you're actually the hybrid. You're like oddly a hybrid of both. It's really about timing.
Now you all know.
That's it.
But yes,
the secret's out.
But yeah, no, I didn't. I was like, what does that even mean? I like didn't even know that there was a difference. Granted, I haven't been with as many females as you, but so I don't know if I would know that, but like I didn't know that there was a difference. But like it made me I thought it was really nice that you like cared to ask because no one ever asked me that before. But it just goes to show that like you were very invested in like the journey and like wanted to make me feel like it was like it wasn't about just like, hey, let's fuck.
Right.
All right, cool. So bottom line is we should not be faking orgasms.
Absolutely not.
Unless it's like a one time thing and you're like, I'm in an uncomfortable situation, like let me just get it. Like I totally understand like those but like in a real relationship, like you shouldn't do it because you're not from a science, biblical, whatever point of view, we're not creating the oxytocin.
Now. We've gone spiritual.
we're not creating the oxytocin, not creating like that bond, but also like you're not telling your partner what you need to know. They're learning things that are not.
That's the part that when you're talking about my emotional reaction initially to it, it's like, no, that's terrible. You're making your partner believe whatever they did should be repeated. Right. And that's a bad practice. So if you're doing that repeatedly, that's not helping you or them get to the place where you're comfortable.
And I think all guys have to know, like all girls are different. So like I think I've noticed a pattern, like if a guy's like out of a relationship and then they're like what worked on the last one might not work with, you have to like relearn it.
But that's the fun.
No, it is, but I don't think a lot of guys know that. I don't think they know.
But that's the fun.
It's fun. Have fun. But like let's say then if you do have a situation where you're noticing that, all right, I've maybe faked it one too many times. Maybe he does think I like this and I really don't. How do we retrain that in a way where it's like not emasculating?
You have to create a space to talk about what you do like.
Right.
Like
end a quarter audit for your sex life. Let's review.
Did you just use the word audit?
I just
and sex
wow. You
in the same sentence.
He's also my CFO, guys.
Very good.
Amazing. All right, cool. So hopefully this like creates a space for people because like I was when you said that I was sort of surprised by your reaction because it wasn't like, again, we were newly dating at the time, like when that question came up, but you were I was surprised by your reaction because I was sort of like, I always thought just like everyone sort of did it from time to time. And you were just like, no, like never do that with me and you shouldn't do that. Right. And then your answer was more elaborate and more interesting than I.
Yeah. And look, truly not every encounter has to end in both of us or either one of us sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Right? I get it. We're trying to prefer to avoid blue balls. That's not fun, but
right. Is that a real thing?
That is a real thing. This is getting weird.
Blue balls is real?
Blue balls is real.
I didn't know that.
They don't necessarily turn blue.
Okay.
I think they can.
Okay.
But yeah, you can end up in a situation where your balls hurt and they get like kind of swollen. And like the lightest touch of even like your pant leg like grazing against really hurts.
I'm sorry.
It is very uncomfortable.
You should try getting your period one time.
All right, I'll stop there.
I'm sorry.
We've gone off the rails.
Sorry for the occasional blue balls. All right, this was great. I hope this creates a space for people to really be able to like have these conversations because it's important. And I mean, and when you gave your answer, like I was like, wow, this is a much deeper issue than I thought it was. And then I think about all the things that my clients say or whatever. And I think it's just important that people have like healthy sex lives in their relationships.
One more comment.
Sure.
If to a woman that's feeling really uncomfortable about giving feedback to their male partner, because they're afraid of how he's going to feel, I would start with an affirmation of what they like, something, like, give them positive feedback.
A compliment sandwich.
It's a little bit of a compliment sandwich. Yeah, I definitely recommend like shit sandwiching it for sure.
Okay, wait. So I love the way that you kiss me. Also, that's not how you finger a girl. But then I love your touch.
I mean, I think it would be more along
it shouldn't be stuffing a turkey.
Stuffing a turkey. Oh my god.
Sorry.
No stuffing turkeys.
No stuffing turkeys.
No, that's a bad idea.
That'll be another episode, guys.
Come this way. That's better. No stuffing turkeys.
We don't stuff turkeys.
Anyway.
So that's good advice. So
I really love the way you touch me. Do you think you can try this next time?
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Wait, that's a great line.
Right. I always love the way your hands feel on my body, but I really want to. I've been dying to feel this or try this. Can we try that tonight?
Love that. That's actually really good advice.
Right. This way, you're kind of giving a little bit of positive feedback, but then kind of saying, "Let's go in this path here." And then once they do that, you can give you like, "Oh man, that felt great," and we do that more often.
Love it.
But I think that creates a nice space.
I love it. That's great advice. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Maybe we'll have Nick on again for the male commentary. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This is great. All right. We're going to put Nick on the spot here. We're going to give him some rapid fire questions pertaining to the topic.
Should I be nervous?
I probably should have spent more.
These questions.
So I just came up with them. I wish I thought of this sooner. Next time we have you on, I'm going to put a lot more thought into these questions, but these are just off the top of my head. I know, like at 2 a.m., I'm going to wake up and be like, God damn it, I should have asked him this one. So I'll have a better curated list for next time, but this is just off the top of my head pertaining to the topic. Have you ever gotten caught by your parents having sex?
By my parents? Yeah. No.
Someone else's parents?
Yes.
Oh my God. What happened?
Not a fun experience.
Mom or dad?
Dad.
How old are you?
Young.
Traumatizing.
Yeah.
Wait, how old? Like older than 21?
No.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wait, what did you do?
So I was on my way. I was leaving.
Okay.
And
had you orgasmed yet?
That's amazing. That was a scary experience.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you see did you talk to him? I have a lot more questions about this. Did you talk to the dad? Did you look him in the eye?
He had made a comment about how late it was. And I said, yes, that's why I need to leave.
Oh my God. So he didn't even acknowledge it?
He
didn't even acknowledge it? He was just like, get the fuck out, basically?
Correct.
Wow.
That was scary.
I might whoa. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my God. We'll maybe do like a story time on that later because I'm more interested. That's an interesting one. Okay. We'll revisit for the cast. Biggest turn off.
Ooh, biggest turn off. We kind of touched on it before, but I think it's like insecurity.
Insecurity?
It's not being comfortable with your body. And it's not about your body being perfect. It's just about not being comfortable with your body.
Yeah, so you could be like a supermodel. Actually, like you told me like supermodels, like you could be gorgeous, but if you're uncomfortable with your body, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Biggest turn on, just for fun.
Confidence. No.
That's mine actually. That was mine.
Yep.
Really? Confidence?
Yeah, because I think when you have two people that are confident with their bodies, not because they're perfect, but because they accept their bodies as they are, the experience is phenomenal.
Agreed. Last question. I'm going to prepare these better for next time because I feel like I could come up with some better ones. Best sexual tip for a former fuckboy.
Ooh.
For all the girls, so if you're in a situationship, just like play this part really loud in the car. So for guys who are in their fuckboy era still, what advice would you give them to now? Do you find it more fulfilling outside of your fuckboy era?
Yes.
Okay. What advice would you give gentlemen who are still in their fuckboy era?
Ask yourself why. What are you doing this for?
Why did you do it? Ego?
That's probably a whole podcast unto itself.
Well, stay tuned, guys, for next time. Thanks so much for coming on, Nick.
Thank you for having me.